Very good morning to all of you. It is my pleasure today to welcome Ms. Archana Jahagirdar, the Managing Partner, Rukam Capital. For our audience benefit, let me talk a little about Rukam Capital. Rukam Capital is a venture capitalist organization which invests in early stage consumer product and service companies that have exceptional growth potential and substantial returns that can be achieved. We are here to talk more about how we can create an ecosystem in our country which is striving to become a leader in deep tech and AI domain. And to have this conversation, we can have no better than Ms. Archana with us to in detail discuss about the ecosystem she is creating at Rukam Capital to achieve the deep tech and AI targets. So Archana, pleasure to have you and welcome to our platform.
Thank you.
So to start this discussion, I wanted to ask that Rukam Capital is working towards this cause of deep tech and AI. What are your company's aim and how they align with creating that ecosystem we are targeting for our nation?
So we started off, looking at all the sectors within the startup ecosystem, and tech was one part, and consumer was the second sort of part that we looked at. And initially at Rukam Capital, we decided to go ahead and invest in consumer companies. But we realized that, with the advent of generative AI and the changes that the country is going through, the world is going through with technology, we also set up Rukam Sitara, which is our tech fund, which is where we are going to be doing our AI deep tech investments. And the reason for focusing on AI deep tech is that I think there's this big race that is happening globally for talent, for creating this next generation of AI companies. And it's important for India to be at the forefront. And to be at the forefront for the right startups to come out, they need capital. And it's VCs like Rukam Capital that will be, adding value and money to these startups.
I think that's a great task and the achievement that if we do that in the tech domain, because we are largely competing with a lot of tech companies and startups in this domain. How does Rukam Capital and their strategies stand them apart in doing what they are doing?
Our strategies are fairly differentiated in both Rukam Capital and in Rukam Sitara. And the commonalities are that we, do a lot of research. We go out and reach out to every single startup in that domain and in that space, so that we get to see every sort of possibility as to who could really be the winners in these categories. In Rukam Sitara, for AI and deep tech, we are doing this big event called New Delhi Slush'D, which is a local spin-off of Slush, which happens in Helsinki every year. Topic for New Delhi Slush is deep tech and AI, and we have over 50 generative AI founders talking at the event, founder to founder sort of stage that we've created. So I think the more conversations that happen between all the stakeholders, so government, policy makers, academicians, founders, VCs, I think we'll create a very robust ecosystem in India.
Agree. And when you mention about this, I think we should talk about that India has a great resource pool. We have great entrepreneurs like you. So how do you think you can advantage upon the resources or the capacity or the talent we have in the country?
I think, we need to broaden the capital base in India. I think we are still fairly shallow when it comes to capital. We need to have more pools of capital. So I think the government is really working hard towards trying to create more pools of capital. And that's how, Rukam Capital comes into play. A lot of other homegrown VCs come into play where, we are all sort of trying to support the Indian ecosystem. So we, for example, only invest in Indian founders building for the India market opportunity. Okay. So all the wealth creation, all the IP, everything stays within India. And I think that's a very critical need for our country.
Right. I think that's what we wanted to understand more, that how you are nurturing that talent, because working here, creating that pool and then going out and working towards the economy of other countries may not be that appreciated at this hour where we need so much.
No country appreciates it, let me tell you that. I mean, for all talk of free markets, ultimately every country has to create its own
Yes.
wealth, its own IP, its own technologies, which serve the goals and ambitions of
Right.
that country.
Right. Because we all are working towards the global agendas, of course, but unless we drive them in our country first, then we can
Yes,
take it
absolutely.
globally.
And India is one of the largest markets for all sort of products and services. And I think the more high quality, capital efficient products that are available to Indians, automatically our business become more competitive, and then they can compete at a global stage.
Right. What are your different programs or initiatives probably you would have taken in this domain when we are talking about the resource and effectively setting up standards? So if you want to talk about those.
No, as a VC fund, our job is to sort of, empower founders to do all that, and therefore find the right founders who know how to sort of build tools and products which align with the larger sort of goals. Our job is to make sure that the founders are capitalized correctly. They get whatever, sounding board advice that they may need from us. If they need any networks or contacts from us, we of course help them. We do this community building events like New Delhi Slush'D, because it's very, very important for different founder communities, VCs and all, to come together towards and work towards a common goal.
So basically, you're believing in more of collaborations and partnerships.
That's
also,
the only
so
way to be. There's no other way you can build anything large.
Yes, right. How does your methods and methodologies are setting you different at the global level when we talk about the innovation you're bringing in?
I think the innovation is brought in by the founders, and the innovation has to be understood at a very early stage. I think the problem with risk capital in India is, and which is very, very critical for innovation to grow, is for VCs and other capital allocators to really understand where this innovation could be for that company, our portfolio company, as well as at a larger sort of level. And I think if one is able to achieve that, then you can achieve a lot by proxy, because it's the founders who are going to build those large companies.
What one thing you want to talk which sets you different from others and at the forefront of what is happening in this domain?
I think the one thing that sets us apart, and I think there's more than one thing that sets us
No, you can
apart
talk about it.
to begin with, and I think that is that we are very collaborative in everything that we do. I mean, I don't think there's anything that we've done or want to do where we want to take all the credit for ourselves. So everything is about how do we create a larger ecosystem, because ultimately, if the ecosystem becomes larger, deeper, it benefits everybody.
Right.
As opposed to if I say, oh, let me, get all the benefits, and the ecosystem doesn't grow, it doesn't benefit anybody in the long term. And you have to have a long-term vision if you again want to build anything large.
In all these process, I'm sure you must be overcoming certain challenges and facing. You want to talk about it, if any of those?
I think challenges are part and parcel of building anything. I think for a young VC fund like Rukam Capital, fundraising for ourselves is always a challenge. I think a lot of investors want to go with, the bigger funds. So I think it's important for everybody to understand that the VC ecosystem is very nascent in India. But it's a very critical, it's almost like critical infrastructure, because if there aren't capital allocators in a structured, professional manner, the startup ecosystem cannot grow. So, you can't de-link the two. Right now, what is happening, the way different people are thinking about it, whether it's at a policy making level or whether it is in the ecosystem, the two things are seen as divergent or different from each other. Whereas they're complementary aspects that need to be nurtured equally. Just as a lot is being done to nurture startups, I think equally a lot has to be done to nurture VC ecosystem.
Right. And when your audience is startup, wherein we're looking at, do you feel you want to leave a message for our viewers who are from the startup community? Like what next would be Rukam Capital doing which can help them in terms of their work?
I think the next and the only thing that Rukam Capital will be doing for startup founders is we are continuing to deploy money. We're looking for exciting new founders who are building exciting companies, and our doors are always open for them.
Great. I think it was great interacting with you. In short, but we had a lot of insights on what Rukam Capital is doing and how we are working towards building that ecosystem. Thank you so much, Archana.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks.